The human mind is one of the most confusing and mysterious parts of our biology, and its power, it's undeniable, right? But with that power and mystery, there's a realization that a lot of people end up having when they're on self improvement, and that is that your brain is stupid, right? It's really, really dumb. Every single bad habit that you've ever done, your brain has convinced you that it's good and it's okay to do that. Even when you knew it was bad, your brain convinced you that it was a good idea to watch an entire season of Outer Banks in one sitting and to waste a whole Saturday, right? Your brain convinced you that it was a good idea to play 5 hours of video games the night before you had a test. And now you're sleep deprived, you didn't study because you were up all night playing video games, and of course, you're not going to perform very well, right? Your brain, it's not your friend, right? I'm going to tell you a little story, right? So, this morning, actually, I sort of started doing this for the last month or two, doing a daily cold plunge, right? An ice bath. Now, of course, if you've never done this before, there's a lot of training, a lot of prep that you have to do to really sort of get your body used to this kind of cold shock therapy type deal, right? And I started doing it. But if I'm gonna be honest, most days, not even kidding, it's not like, oh, occasionally I don't feel like doing it. Most days I don't feel like doing it. Very, very rarely I actually like have a desire to do it, right? Maybe like once a month I want to take an ice bath. So that leaves every single day I wake up and I don't want to do an ice bath, but I still do it. I still, like, for the last month or so, because it's been so cold, because it's winter right now where I live, I've been having to take this like gardening tool thing. I used to use a hammer, but it's not as the gardening tool's nice because I have like a chisel thing on it. But anyways, I've had to, break through the ice, and sometimes that ice is like 4 inches thick, right? And that's a lot to get through. It's difficult to go out there with my little chisel thing, go hacking away at the ice, and every little hit that I, hit that ice with brings me closer and closer to the pain of sitting in an ice bath. So there's a lot of mental battles that you have to get through if you do something like this. And this morning, I really, really didn't want to. Right, I started procrastinating a little bit. I sort of, was watching some content before, and I was sort of looking out the window, thinking like, "Oh man, I really don't want to do this today or whatever." And I got out there, and the ice was pretty thick, and I started to have this excuse in my mind, like, "Oh, the ice is too thick. I can't get through it," because that happens sometimes. Sometimes the ice is like, really, really thick, and no matter what I do, I can't get through it without like a sledgehammer. And if I got a sledgehammer, I'd probably just break my tub, right? So, I had this thought in my head of when I got out there and started chiseling a little bit. I'm like, oh, yeah, ice is too thick. No way, I can't do it. And I kept chiseling a little bit while I was thinking in my head, like, oh, yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And then, right as soon as I was getting ready to make the decision to not do an ice bath that day, and I hit that last chisel, it broke through and I had a little hole to water. And I kept going, and eventually the whole tub was broken up and I was able to do an ice bath. And it hit me that your mind is going to make excuses. And very, very rarely are those excuses actually going to like matter, if it makes sense. Like, very rarely are those excuses going to be valid excuses that your mind makes, right? Most of the time, it's just going to lie to you and change the truth and make you believe that doing this good habit is actually a bad idea, right? Something that also realizes that if your mind tells you that not to do something that you know is good for you, that's when you especially need to discipline yourself to do it, right? It's how you know for sure it's a good habit, because you know it's challenging. Now, how can you really like take back this control? How can you know when your mind is getting ready to talk you out of doing something bad? Because it's hard to tell, right? Sometimes your brain will be nice to you and will actually like tell you not to do something that you actually shouldn't do. But most of the time, it's gonna lie to you. So how do we know, right? How can we discern what sort of decision to make when it comes to the voices that are mind, the thoughts that our mind is generating? And there's several methods, and the two biggest ones is meditation and journaling. Now, first, I'm going to talk about meditation. Now, meditation is something that I've been doing for a pretty long time now, and it's sort of like a cornerstone of self improvement. And meditation isn't what a lot of people think is like, oh yeah, let me just sit on top of this mountain and make weird noises and sit cross legged. Meditating is picking a certain element of the environment around you and put 100% of your focus into that element, right? Whether it be your breath, most people focus on their breath. I tend to do that. Or it can be like the sound of your fan whirling, or it can be the sounds of birds outside, it can be sound of the wind, whatever, right? But some sort of element in the world around you that you can focus on, right? And then whenever you feel your attention leave, just bring it back to that, focus thing. And sometimes your mind is going to wander away. You're going to be, having like a fake argument in your head, or you're going to be, thinking about something someone said or whatever. But you just have to have that mindfulness to bring yourself back, right? And what this is doing is it's training yourself to become better at being more aware of the thoughts that you're having, right? Being aware of when you're having a thought allows you to have the mindfulness to realize when your mind is trying to like talk you out of something, right? And you can have that mental awareness, that mindfulness to bring yourself back to your goal and to remember why you're doing this goal and remember what you're trying to achieve so that you can realize like, oh yeah, right, my mind's being stupid right now and it's trying to talk me out of doing something that I know I need to do. And the next point is journaling. Now, I have been wanting to do this for a while, and I haven't really had the time, I do have the time, but I haven't really been mindful enough to start doing this, so I do plan on doing this more often now, is journaling. Now, journaling may sound kind of strange, right? Because like, oh, like a diary? Oh, that's weird, right? Now, obviously, if you're more of a masculine guy, you're not going to journal the same way like a little girl would, right? Your journaling deal or whatever is not going to be like, dear diary, today I slid down the slide on recess, right? You're not going to do that. The point of journaling is having, like being, so, imagine that your mind is like tangled up earbuds, right? I know a lot of people don't have wired earbuds anymore. A lot of people have AirPods or whatever. If you have wired earbuds, you understand the annoyance of having them like in your backpack or your pocket and then taking them out to use them and they're all tangled up, right? No matter how neatly you roll them or how neatly you like put them into a bag or your pocket, somehow they always end up being really tangled, right? No matter what you do. So you have to meticulously untangle them. That's how your mind is, right? If your thoughts are like the earbuds, right? For you to process information, for you to like really make good decisions about things, you have to use your earbuds. You have to use your mind. The problem is your mind keeps pulling your earbuds in weird directions and it gets them all messed up and tangled and stuff stops making sense and you start making irrational decisions that don't really make a lot of sense and you're not as disciplined as usual because you're not able to really think about stuff around you as easily because your mind is all tangled up with weird thoughts and decisions and stresses and all sorts of things, right? So journaling is like untangling this mess, right? It's like slowly unraveling all your thoughts and trying to make sense of them, right? So rather than journaling like, oh, today da happened, instead have something happen to you, right? Whenever something happens or like a decision that you have to make or whatever, just journal about it and sort of like really think about why you feel the way that you feel about a decision, what your options are with the decision and how you feel about each one. And eventually you start to realize like exactly why you consider each option of a decision or exactly why you feel a certain way about something. And you eventually start to realize what decision to make. You start to discern the reason that you have a goal or the reason that you feel so strongly about something. And this allows you to have so much control over your mind and your decisions because you're able to establish a clear path, a clear understanding of what's going on in your life, right? You're untangling the mess that your day-to-day life kind of gives you. So I'm going to end this video with a quote. I believe this was from Andrew Tate. I know he's a pretty controversial figure or whatever, especially in the self-improvement space, but he does have some pretty good wisdom. So the quote is, life is it's so easy to win. All you have to do is control your own mind, right? If you can't control your own mind, you're just a feather in the wind. You're going to drift around, be pulled in all sorts of random directions. But if you can control your mind, you can pretty easily conquer this world. That's all I got for today. So, may God bless you and stay wild.